Everybody get out of the bathroom, step away from the skirt. We're back here to talk about this week's episode of Below Deck Med here on RHAP. I'm your host, Chappell, also known as Metacane Chappell, and I will be taking us through the most recent episode of Below Deck. Now, you're probably used to hearing Sasha here, but as we know, she's traveling. And so with me, I have a very special guest, one of the stars of last season of Big Brother, the DJ herself, DJ Bowie Jane. What's good?
G'day. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, it's good to have you. Now, Bowie Jane, I'm very excited. One, big fan. Watched you last season on Big Brother, but I had no clue that you were a fan of Below Deck.
I am, and I absolutely love Aisha. I'm an Aisha and Captain Sandy fan. And I have to say, not all the Below Decks do I like, but I love Mediterranean because of those two. I swear to God, they kind of balance it out. Some of the other ones are I don't know, let's get it on. Whereas this is more, I know there's a bit of sensibility and party in there.
Yes, I just started watching Below Deck recently, and so I jumped in. I think my first season might have been Below Deck Med as well, and so I don't know a lot of the backstory with a lot of the other captains and stews, but when I met Aisha, it was love at first sight. She's so great. Captain Sandy's so fun this season, so we definitely have that in common. What's your background watching Below Deck?
Actually, my friend works for a management company in Australia, and her company manages Aisha. And so she was on a show in Australia called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But of course, she's well known for Below Deck before that. That's why she got on I'm a Celebrity. But I watched her on that, and she's just hilarious because she's so down to earth, and she really just doesn't give two hoots. So, and she's obviously a New Zealander, so like New Zealanders and Aussies. So then I was like, oh my God, she's on Below Deck Mediterranean. That's awesome. So I started watching it here in America, and I'm like, I freaking love it. And I wasn't aware of Captain Sandy, although I know she's got quite a history on the show. But yeah, I just think the two of them are so good and so straight down the line. Very Aussie Captain Sandy, even though she's not Aussie.
Yes, I'm very excited to hear all your thoughts about the series and this season. But first, I want to thank everybody for being here live. The Peanut Galley, as we call them, is in the chat. They're giving you a lot of love, Bowie Jane. They're very happy to see you here. Everybody was really excited when we announced it. So please make sure you go in and like the YouTube videos. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Below Deck podcast feed that we have here on RHAP so that we can keep this content going and so that you can join the conversation because we are live and the chat is popping. Now, Bowie Jane, this season has been a roller coaster ride. How have you been feeling about the season overall?
Yeah, I've loved it. I think there's some interesting elements to it, obviously with Ellie and Bree. I love Jonathan. I think he's hilarious. And I was worried about him at the start, obviously with, a few cooking issues, but he's just such an asset as a cast member. Like, he's really funny. So I think also, I don't know, did you watch the after show?
I did watch the episode.
And he's obviously really funny in that. Like, it's really funny to watch the recaps. So, yeah, I think there's a good mix. Like with all TV shows, you've got people working, but also they're cast for a reason. And I think they've done a good job with the cast.
Yeah, I love the cast. I like, obviously, the scenery. It's always fun watching Below Deck on wherever they go. The Mediterranean is so much fun. But when you watch the show, are you more into the drama of the show? Do you like seeing them all at work? What is the big draw aside from Asia and Captain Sandy that keeps you watching?
Actually, that's a good point. I don't know. I guess it's a balance of all of it. The fact that the show is about working, so there is a lot of real life stuff in it. You can't script that stuff because you've got, guests on board. So that's what makes it interesting. And then ending it, of course, every episode ending with them socializing. And yeah, I just think it's a really well done show.
Yeah. And I really want to talk about the socializing, especially when we get the conversations that we're going to have in this episode with, let's start with Ellie and Joe, because to me, this was a train wreck. This has been going on since episode 1. And in the last episode, we saw that Ellie goes and asks Joe out on a date. And he first says yes. And then shortly after, he decides to walk it back. how have you been feeling watching the Ellie, Joe, and Bree love triangle? I guess I'll call it this season.
Oh my God, Joey's a dirty dog. Like, seriously, please. Come on, mate. He's got it like, it's so bad. If I knew I was on a show, I would not be doing that. Like, I would be hiding that side of myself. So, look, it's great for the story, but it's really dodgy. So I think it's unfair on Brie and Ellie. Obviously, Brie is just like running muck with it anyway. She's kind of like, well, it'll be interesting to see if she continues it next week, to be honest. But Ellie is just, it's amazing she's being sucked into it, because I feel like she's someone she's kind of experienced in life. So she's not 18 years old. So yeah, it's interesting to see that he's getting away with it. I guess, being on the ship or being on a boat like that is a little bit like being in the Big Brother house, where you're like, well, what's in front of me, Let's just go with what's in front of me. You don't have the whole world as an option. You're also going through some sort of trauma bonding together, so you feel closer to people than you normally would in real life.
Yeah, I think there's something to say about working with people and living with them at the same time. And like you said, it's very Big Brother of these are the same people you see every day. When you go to sleep, it's the last person you saw. You wake up, it's the first person you see. You don't ever get a break from them. And so they're very eager to hook up and to find connection. But I've been trying to figure out Joe all season, and to me, it feels like he just likes the chase. He goes after Ellie, but when she wants to make it serious, he backs away. He goes after Bree, and then we see eventually they'll end up in a bathroom where she said, look, either make a move or leave me alone. And he decides to fall back and not make a move.
Was that your reading of it? Because I thought, I'm not sure what happened in there, but my reading was, she said either be a man about it or I'll be a man.
I'll be a man, yeah.
Yeah, what did that mean? I thought that meant like get out, actually. I'll stop this.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could be right, actually.
Well, because I'm having a hard time trying to figure out, because Bree, of course, we see her go and tell Ellie, like, Joe is the problem. What are we doing? And then 70 minutes later, she's in the bathroom like, Joe, you're making the eyes. I want to hook up with you so bad. They go in the bathroom and it feels like it's going to escalate. And then they both were like, stop. We can't do this. We can't do this. And so I couldn't tell if she was saying, like, make a commitment of whether you're going to do this or not, or leave me alone, because it seems like he just, I think she described it as dangling himself in front of her and Ellie all the time, where he's
dangling the carrot, which is a bad, obviously, way of putting it, but
yeah, it's like she wanted to say carrot, but her mind was on something else. But
yeah. Oh yeah, and it sounded like in the after show, the way they were talking to it, although they wouldn't commit to it, was that something like, obviously they had actually, if you know what I mean, in the toilet. So, but they didn't really admit to it. Well, I'm sure it did happen.
Yeah, there's definitely conflicting reports, right? Because we see that in the after show. If you didn't watch the after show, definitely go check it out, because it was a good one. But in the after show, we see Jono reminding Bree, you told me y'all had sex. And then you cut to Joe, and he says, no, we got a little handsy in the hot tub, but I don't think we ever had sex. And then Bree is saying, was I drunk when I told you that? And so I was like, what is actually happening in that bathroom, and why did y'all put a stop to it so quickly? Because it seemed like it was going somewhere. It got real nasty real quick, Bowie Jane. I mean, he's like, hike up your skirt and find a position. The captions were taking me out.
Oh my God. And then like the sound effects. Oh,
yeah.
Jeepers.
Moans and all that
but
stuff.
I think if they hadn't done it, they would have said, oh no, we didn't. So the fact that they didn't deny it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not, and especially she had that, I think she also likes to just, she likes the chase. She likes the competition of her and Ellie. I don't know if Ellie's so much into it for winning the competition. I don't get that sense from her. I think she actually likes Joe. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's how Ellie looks at it too. Like, she really likes Joe and Joe likes her. That's how she sees it. And Bree is kind of like this third party that's trying to interfere and is flirting with Joe and trying to draw his attention away. When from Ellie's point of view, I've been trying to help her. She talks about in the after show that I wanted to help her with the laundry. I wanted to take her under my wing. And now she's coming after somebody that I'm clearly interested in. But that's not what we saw on the show all the time. You know, we definitely saw that there was interest from Joe to Bree as well. We've seen both of the women talk to each other about it and say, no, I'm not interested. No, it's nothing serious. And then immediately get really sensitive about this thing that they say isn't so serious. So it's really hard to tell. Are you team Ellie or team Bree in this conflict?
Oh, team Captain Sandy and Aisha.
Yeah.
I mean, no, let me think. I think I'm team Ellie, actually.
Yeah, well, because Aisha said in the after show to Kate that she's team Bree.
I saw that. I just think that Bree's work ethic would drive me crazy. So I feel like so I'm sure she's super nice, but as far as working with it, that was enough to put me off. So
yeah, this episode, I was embarrassed for a lot of people. And I want to start with Bree because I have a lot of embarrassment to pass around to the entire group. So come with me on this journey. When Bree walks into the laundry room and finds Captain Sandy ironing her own clothes.
Oh, and she's on the phone.
And she's on the phone. Captain says, you need to hang up the phone. That's her boss. I would have been so ashamed. I would have just flung myself off the boat into the ocean.
Oh my God, she's got no sense of, like, as an employee, you're on your phone on a video call. Oh my God, you just got caught on your phone. Shut it down. She to have to be told that. Oh gosh, terrible.
Yeah. She walks in kind of like, hold on, girl. I'm talking to Captain Sandy. Captain Sandy, what you doing? Oh, you need some help? All right, let me call you back. Like, no, when you walk in and the captain is doing their own laundry, you've already messed up. And so kudos to Captain Sandy. She kept it cool, but it really felt like this was a fireable offense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can't wait to see what happens with this whole thing. I know they showed a bit of what's coming up for the season. It looks like they get another girl on. I mean, and that was in the recap, wasn't it? That was going forward, and that there's going to be another girl, and that Joe's with the other girl. Oh my gosh, like this is going to be a hot mess. Hopefully, she knows how to do laundry though.
I mean, she might need to because it doesn't look like, I don't know. I don't see this lasting for Bree.
Me neither. I do not see it. Actually, that's what I was like with the after show. I'm thinking, okay, they're never having Ellie and Bree in the same room together at the after show, or it seems it's only Bree and Jonathan, not Bree and Gail, not Bree and Aisha. So I'm assuming she maybe gets fired. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I was concerned about Jonathan at first, but I'm very concerned about Bree because even in this episode, Aisha finally has a chance to pull her to the side and say, okay, here are some tips that you can use to get organized, because Captain Sandy went directly to Aisha and said, I'm trying my best. You know, we're all trying to help her. You haven't even been able to sit down and enjoy a meal all season because they can't get together. And so she had to go and teach her, you know, I guess the basics of organization in the laundry room. I don't know if Bree's going to be able to survive this.
I think with someone like Bree, in hindsight, if I was Aisha, you'd have to be kind of strict with Bree. She follows the rules, but if you don't set the rules, she's just going to run amok. So I would be like, laundry has to be done this way, and set a rule and a list, and she has to tick things off. Like, it has to be that basic, I think.
Because she messes up again in this episode, and we see that Joe doesn't have the heart to throw her under the bus. And I'd say that's the least you could do, Joe, is to sit this one out. You know, I think you've done enough damage to these women on the boat as far as their reputation as workers. Because Aisha said, y'all got to grow up. The fact that y'all are letting y'all's relationship with a guy, this love triangle, affect your day-to-day job, it's a little childish, and we should be more mature than that and more professional for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. I mean, it's just probably best to not get in that situation in the first place, I would have thought, but
yeah. Thundercats in the chat is saying Aisha probably should have done this organization thing in the first couple charters, but I will say that she's been running around like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to keep up with all the mistakes they're making, because Bree is not a great stew, but she also points out a few times that Ellie's not that good either. So it's like she hasn't really had a time to focus on, you know, cleaning up some of these problem areas.
Yeah, and the problem is with someone like Ellie, like in the first few weeks, you think, oh, she knows what she's doing. And obviously the little things are creeping in later that, oh, maybe she doesn't know what she's doing. Now that's kind of hard to manage because you don't realize. And I think for Aisha, she assumes she's getting people with some experience put on the boat, like not first time round. but they're all acting like it's first time around. And obviously Brie got fired from her last job, so yeah.
And all the other jobs apparently too.
Yeah.
So you know, one of the reasons why they're short staffed is because there's a leak in the boat, and I mean, my mouth was on the floor when I found out in this episode. Obviously, there's a hurricane coming, and it causes the boat to take in a lot more water. And they're saying, "Oh, there's another leak in this cabin. What are we going to do?" They go and they look, and it turns out that the hose had a plug on it. The plug came off, and that's where the water is coming from. And they found it out because of the storm. But so this whole time they've been down one person because of a leak, and they didn't know why. And now the leak is fixed. Now they can hire somebody else.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was wondering if that was why. Yeah, I get that. That is correct. And yeah, that's crazy. But I guess they didn't know really the extent of it. But yeah, water coming on a ship, not awesome. But actually, what's Ian? I always forget Ian's name. Ian made a good point. At least it was rainwater, not salt water, because obviously salt water just erodes things. So,
what do you think about Ian? Because he's almost not in the episodes anymore.
Yeah, maybe he's not doing anything wrong, so it's not a good story. Like maybe he's improved. I don't know, but yeah, he's a bit of a kind of guy. I'm sorry, but working under him would drive me crazy too. I freaking love Gail, actually. Gail's a great worker, great attitude. She knows her stuff. I think she would be awesome to work with.
Yeah, and Gail is having a good story in this episode for sure. It's like the opposite of what's going on with Joe and Brie and Ellie. You know, we have
like side by side those storylines, and they're so different.
Yeah, because Ellie does ask Joe out on that date, and he turns her down. But later on, we will see that Nathan asks Gail on a date. He says, "You want to get off the boat and just do something between the two of us?" And she says yes. And you could tell they really like each other because both of them are so nervous about these dates.
Yeah, I mean, that is cute. Although I feel like her nerves might be, I don't know where this is going to go. I was trying to get a sense of it from the after show. Like, is she talking in past tense, or is she still with him when she's talking about this? It was really hard to tell. I think maybe she's still with him. I don't know.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, it's a very quick turnaround. She was just in another relationship, and so she's concerned that maybe she's moving too fast. How do you feel? Do you think that breaking up with your boyfriend maybe 2 or 3 charters ago and now going on a date and potentially dating someone else so quickly, do you think that could be a detriment?
Well, she might be someone who jumps from relationship to relationship, but I think if the other relationship was already on the way out for a while, then she's technically already had that timeout period. But yeah, I don't know. I've always been someone who's comfortable being on my own, so I can't really relate to jumping from relationship to relationship. I'm like in a relationship, and when it ends, I probably won't go out with someone for a few years. So I don't really relate to that, but I can see if the other relationship wasn't real. See, I only go out with people when it's real as well. So maybe she was going out with them with the romance of like, oh, he's going to be great eventually. And then, oh, shit, no, I still don't like him. I mean, it didn't sound right, that relationship.
It didn't. It definitely felt like there were some problems there, but she seems very happy with Nathan right now in these early stages. I guess we'll see what happens later on, if it's able to develop, if it's able to grow. But you mentioned that you only go out with somebody if it's real. So you're more like Joe, right? Where you only want to date people that you're going to marry.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not putting myself in the same basket as Joe. Joe is dodgy MF. So I'm going to say I'm nothing like Joe. Yeah, so it is funny though. Yeah, I wouldn't be handling things like Joe or any of them actually. I do like Aisha's relationship where they're so comfortable with each other, her and her fiance or whatever, where her
fiance Scott.
Yeah, and so Scott.
I think Kate in the after show
they
said
seem like they've got a good relationship.
Yeah, they're probably the flagship relationship of the show right now, even though we don't see him that much. But we also find out about Captain Sandy's relationship. She's about to propose soon. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm very excited about this proposal.
Me too. I assume this is going to be this season, and it must be soon. Do we think?
It's got to be, right? Because she mentioned it maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, and then again talking about exactly how she's going to propose. There's this really cool dock that they found, and or like a pier kind of situation. And Aisha's telling her, maybe go out onto the dock and stand there when you do your vows or when you do your proposal. And I was thinking that is so cool.
Cute.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so cute. Oh my god! And like, how perfect! You may as well do it while you're on the show and you get all the footage. So,
oh yeah, it's a great moment because you get that budget I was using, and then you know how much you lose the water. So being on a dock just feels about right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's perfect. I can't. They seem like they've got a good relationship too, Sandy, and it's Leah, right?
Yes, Leah.
Yeah, so I've been following them on the socials. So,
oh yeah,
I'm starting to stalk the cast. You know how you do.
We gotta keep tabs on Cap and Teddy. I'm very excited. I like that she gets very excited when she talks about Leah. You can tell she's very nervous as well. I was loving that about this episode. Everybody who is in a relationship that they're happy in, or they're moving around with someone that they actually like, they're very nervous about their interactions. We know Cap Sandy's nervous about Leah. I think we see at one point he comes out dressed kind of like me with the black shirt on and like the pants. They look like The Rock with that turtleneck on.
But that was hilarious.
Yeah, but his outfit is bad because he's so nervous. He wants to impress her. And I'm thinking, okay, y'all making me a softie on this episode.
Oh, that was so cute. Yeah, he's coming across really nice because I didn't think he would come across that way, actually. But yeah, he's coming across as quite a nice person.
Yeah, we like him. But how do you feel about his interactions with Joe? Because he watches all the things that Joe does. He is seeing all these interactions. He's seeing the way Joe is playing in these women's faces, essentially. And he kind of stays out of it. Whereas we see Gail kind of tell us that she sees it too. And she's starting to lose respect for Joe. How do you feel about Nathan and his relationship with Joe?
I think it's cool because he listens. He doesn't judge him, but he's like, mate, that's dodgy what you're saying, like he's not going, yeah, he's not revving him up. He's like, you don't want to hold a girl's hand, but you've just had your tongue down her throat. Like, it's kind of cool. So I think the relationship is nice there.
Yeah.
Although bromances can get a bit much, I have to say, but just speaking about my own experience in the Big Brother house, but
oh, go on.
No, the Matt and Jag bromance, like, come on, guys, get a room.
No, that's definitely fair. I really want to talk about this whole Ellie and Joe moment where he talks her out of the date. He comes to her and says, I've never been asked on a date before. So I said yes because I was kind of taken aback and shocked that it happened. But then I started to think about it, and I don't know. I don't know if I feel comfortable. And he talks around in circles as opposed to just telling Ellie that he doesn't like her or that he's not interested in being romantic with her. He just makes a lot of excuses about it. How did you think about like how Ellie processed and handled that moment?
Well, we were all waiting for her to react, and she actually just kept curling her hair. So I was shocked. I was like, wow, she's handling this well. You'd think she would look at the cameraman and be like rolling her eyes. But so that was interesting. She handled it really well. I would have said to the camera, what a loser. Like, please, I'm never asking him out again. This guy's full of himself. But yeah, no, I'm sure he's nice in real life, by the way, because I've probably bloody made him or something and I'll be in trouble. Nice guy, but I'm just saying your behavior with women is a bit dodgy.
It's tough. I think Ellie still really likes him. And I think that's why she reacts the way she does, which is just like, she's like, no, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, what about so after that, and then they're at the dinner sitting next to each other, and then he starts talking about, do you want kids? Oh, she's like, yeah, I want kids. Like, please. It's embarrassing.
He won't go on a one-on-one date with her, but as long as everybody else is around, he's thinking, he even says at some point, why don't we talk like this even more often? She said, that's what I'm trying to do with you, but you won't go out with me. You won't go anywhere and have a sit down with me. So he's giving a lot of mixed signals. I thought it was very awkward that they ended up sitting next to each other at the dinner because everyone had to know what was going on, right?
Actually, did they say, or did I mishear it? I thought I heard Joe say, we walked in and they were the last 2 seats left. Our PAs did us dirty. Is that what he said?
I think he said our castmates did us dirty because I think when
Oh,
they started to sit down, I think everyone strategically sat where they wanted to sit, and the last
right.
2 seats were Ellie and Joe, and they didn't have any choice. Because I think someone could have sat on either side of Ellie, and this doesn't happen, but they just happened to leave that one seat open for her to come sit in.
So in my head, I was like, oh, they said PA is in production assistant, because
Could
I would
be.
have thought they would be putting the place cards out. You're going to be sitting here, sitting here, and that was just all in my head, the behind the scenes of it. But yeah, I mean, it was probably who knows how that worked.
Yeah, and again, I just think Ellie's whipped. I think she likes him way too much because
Yeah.
he does his little apology. He also, they talk and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're really cool. I guess we should get to know each other more." And she tells us in the confessional and in her interview, she says, "Yeah, I don't know why he just is keep running away from me and keep chasing away this good sex that I could give him." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh my
okay, Ellie, I need you
gosh.
to let this go. I need her to let
I,
this go now."
I wonder what she. Wait, they didn't show much of her reaction to that episode, did they? In the after show?
Not really. They in the after show they kept interviewing her kind of more about the interaction of, I guess, her point of view of what she was told about the interactions with Joe and Bree. So she talked about how she really appreciated that Bree came and apologized for sure. She definitely talked about her relationship with Bree, but she did say, "I'll have to ask Joe if anything actually happened with them after that." And
Yeah,
so I don't
I
know.
wonder with the after show, are they not seeing the episode? They're just asking questions about the episode, the producers are? Because that would make sense, because if you've watched it, you might be like, oh, I'm going to change my story.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
think she
maybe,
might be in denial. I think I think
or she's in denial. That's true
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I think she is. I watched the moment where Bree comes up to her because Bree is watching all of this as well.
Yeah.
And I think from Bree's point of view, because she was alerted that the conversation about the date happened. She was told that by Joe. Joe told her in the car, like, "Hey,
Yeah.
just so you know, I was asked on a date and I told her I wasn't into it." So I think from Bree's point of view, she feels like, "Oh, well, you're turning down Ellie. It must mean I'm the one that you want." Because she did tell him you need to choose. And I was thinking, or she told him he chose wrong. He picked the wrong
Oh,
side.
yeah. I wrote that
Yeah.
quote down, actually. What was that? Damn it. I've
Yeah.
got so many notes, I'll never find it. So forget that.
No, it feels like, I think she said you picked the wrong side. And I was thinking, I don't know if it's ever been is it either Bree or is it either Ellie?
Yeah.
And I think in her mind, she's always looked at it as it's either her or Ellie, and with Ellie out of the way, it's now her spot. When in reality, it just feels like Joe wants to have his cake and eat it too, right? He wants to have both of them on the hook.
Oh yeah, no, I did write it down. You picked a side, and he's like, I didn't pick a side. So she's like, yeah. I feel like he just wants the best of both worlds, and he's in for the chase. None of it's serious. As he said in the after show, I'm looking for someone that's instant attraction. Oh my god, like this guy, he needs to practice being in relationships. That's what needs to happen. He should be going out with lots of girls to practice, because he's got no idea. The next girl he's going out with, who he has instant attraction with, he's going to take home to his parents. I don't know about this.
No, I think you're right, because he says he hasn't been in a relationship since 2017, and if he's been moving like this since 2017, yeah, he's never going to be good at a relationship because he's
No.
always doing. He's a little bit of he's a little bit of a jerk to these women too. So I don't know. I don't have high hopes for him, like outside of the boat. I think he really needs to figure things out while he's here, because when he goes out into the real world, where I don't think anybody's going to go for this. These girls don't have anywhere else to turn to for entertainment, but other people have options, and I don't think that they're going to stand for this kind of action.
Actually, in the real world, though, he could probably get away with seeing 10 girls at once. So, whereas
It's
on the
bigger.
boat, like everyone can see everyone's moves, a bit like the Big Brother house, like you really
Mhm.
can't get away with much at all.
Yeah, that's tough. I think he's a menace now. I think he's out. I think this we got to be on the lookout for people like Joe, because he got hurt in his last relationship, and hurt people, and it seems like
Yeah,
he's on a rampage.
it's so true. Wow.
Yeah, he's tough. Because I liked Joe in the beginning, and even like in this episode, it's just seeing him spiral. Where he tries it with this person, it doesn't work. They catch on. He tries it with this person, it works a little bit, and then they catch on. He goes back. at one point I was like, okay, Joe, you're playing a dangerous game. But then I started to look at Ellie and Bree and say, one of you need to stand up and just put a stop to this. So
Yeah.
it
Then
felt
producers
like
are
it.
like, you know what? You've been through the whole boat. Let's bring on another girl. That's what's going to happen.
Yes, yes. A new bombshell is going to enter the boat soon, and
Oh, and that's going to be great because so obviously Ellie and Brie are against each other, although they're starting to make friends at the moment.
mhm.
And then it's going to be perfect because they'll then be ganging up against the new girl because the new girl will be with the guy. And I wonder if the new girl is going to be a good worker as well. So Brie and Ellie are going to be shown up, I predict.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You would hope that instead of them going against the new girl, they go against Joe. Like they, but it's
Oh,
like they're gonna
nah.
point their ire at her instead of him.
No, like obviously this is the female nature thing, but as far as a TV show is concerned, it's perfect. But like it is terrible that the girls are being against the girl. The girl should be against the guy. That's exactly it.
And he's just gonna go over there and tell, oh, I don't know, they all just like me so much. It's so hard being beautiful like I
Oh,
am, and
how
she's just
old
gonna
is he?
fall for it. I don't know. Is he? I think
Feels
he was in his 20s, right? But not
like
his early
25,
20s.
maybe. I don't know. I feel like he acts like he's 18, but he doesn't look. He looks maybe 30, but I guess if he hasn't been out with many chicks, then he's a party
Okay.
boy.
He is. He really is a party boy. I wonder if somebody in the chat has Joe's age. Let us know if you have that, because I think you make a good point. He looks more mature, and maybe that's what the draw is, because he's definitely acting like somebody who is relatively young. Maybe is just enjoying. Oh, it looks like 27. I think is the age I'm
27.
seeing. Yeah,
Wow.
and
So,
so
and
yeah.
how old's Gail then? Because Gail is super mature. Also, I want to know Gail and Aisha's ages, actually. Can the chat tell
Yeah.
us?
Let's see.
I
Let's see
would
what we can
Google it, but
find
I'm
here.
on this.
Yeah, I think Gail is 28 at the time of this show
Okay.
airing as well.
Right.
So explains why she's a little bit more mature than some of the other stews we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
And I have no clue how old Aisha is. I guess I've never thought about it. But let's
She must
see.
be like 30s, I think. She's
Yeah,
also worked a lot. It feels like she's a good worker. You can see it. So
it looks like she's
even
32.
like 32. Okay. She feels more mature just because she's got all that experience. It was actually funny, when she was on the bed with her laptop. This was the other episode, actually. And she's hearing on the walkie-talkie, like, that things aren't being done properly. And she's like, this is exactly why I can't take a break. And it was funny because in that moment, you could see her listening to the walkie-talkie. And I'm like, see, this is not produced at all. This is literally her honest reaction. You could see it in her face, like, oh my God, like, are you kidding? So I love those moments. That's what this show is good at. It's very real because you've got real guests. So I do like that element of it.
Yeah, it's her balancing the TV part, but also the work part. It's like for TV, she should probably let them do whatever they're gonna do. The show, it's gonna be good drama, but she can't even take a break because the walkie-talkie's going off, and she actually has to go do her job. And so I love that too. I think that's one of the things that's drawn me to this show the most. Is like, I like mess. I do like a messy show, the hookups and all the fights and stuff like that. But I like that they have to navigate the actual management of the boat as well, and making sure that it doesn't, that things don't happen. We see that they lost an anchor. We see that there's a hurricane coming. You see all these boat issues happen while the drama is happening too, and so that's why I like it.
Yeah, it's perfect. And I think I read somewhere, I'm not sure if this is right, that is there only 2 cameramen on board and the rest is all like cameras like in the Big Brother house? That's what I heard. Which is what makes, so there's no, like, I think you probably lose that sense of being on camera, and it feels like they're not showing off to the camera. Like, it just feels very real. That's not always easy to do with a TV show. So they're doing a good job, especially with that. They're not actors. So it just feels real, which I like.
Yeah, and there's other people on the boat as well, with the engineers and things too that we don't even see. So, it's very much running like a boat that is a commercial, yacht, and so now we're seeing the drama side of it, which might be a little manufactured, but they still have to do the boat stuff. That stuff can never change. It has to be honest, at least to an extent. I do think sometimes production leans into some of the issues, like earlier in the season when they couldn't get provisions. I kept thinking, there's no way you can't get wine, in Greece. Like I just don't, I don't
yeah. I
believe
was
it. I
thinking
don't
that
see it.
too.
Yeah. It's
I was
like,
like, oh, this is weird. It did feel like an odd storyline if it wasn't happening, like an odd fake storyline if it was fake.
I mean, it
Um,
didn't pay off that much because I think the guests were fine with them saying, "Oh, we'll try this, we'll try that." Like the guests were really, they were really like flexible when it came to that kind of thing. Where some guests are more, I say a little bit more strict or kind of rude to the crew. I also think when the guests come in and they have a whole bunch of dietary restrictions, I think that might be production at play a little bit too. Because
oh, yeah. Like this one was, or was it last time? Actually, not the last episode, the one before, where it was like, we want this to be comparable with a Michelin restaurant.
and it's like,
Yeah.
but this isn't a Michelin restaurant, so why would you want that? Like, why would you think that's something we have at our disposal? So I think they come in with high expectation, or they nudge the guests to,
Yeah.
ask for things that maybe they wouldn't always ask for.
Well, actually, the fish knife situation from not
Yeah.
last episode, the one before. That girl, did you see she came out on TikTok and apologized?
No, I didn't see that. We saw that she had posted on her story that she was kind of like alluding to the story, but she didn't actually make an apology about it. So since then, she has apologized.
Yeah, so she came out and said, I was just a bit emotional. She didn't really refer the fact that she didn't know the difference between a butter knife and a fish knife. But yeah, so she was like, oh, I was just emotional. And obviously the editing, she was blaming it on the editing and the fact that she said, and your caviar service sucked. She said that when Aisha wasn't around, which is probably true. That edit, I did think that at the time. I was like, I wonder if Aisha wasn't even there, but they kind of make it look like Aisha's just walking out the room. It was a good edit, but yeah, I mean, she was rude. There's no doubt about it. So she said, "Oh, I didn't come across too well." Blah blah blah. Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah.
But if you treat service staff badly ever, I mean, unless they're totally terrible, it's a sign of the kind of person you are, I think.
Oh, I totally agree. It gives me the ick. Anytime I see somebody being rude to someone who works in service, I mean, it would take a lot to get me to be rude to somebody in general, but to be in service, that's a lot. And so I'm like, I can't shake that off. So I would definitely, even if it was nudged by production or edited weird, I would be apologizing too. Do you feel like you're more tapped into that now that you've been on a television show? Now you play Big Brother. I mean, to compare this show to playing Big Brother it's very generous to the show because you're on camera 24/7 for 3 months essentially.
Days.
Yeah, forever. And so, would you say you're more attuned to the editing tricks that they do now on shows when you watch?
Well, I've watched a lot of, like, I only watch reality TV. I'm not interested in produced shows, as in scripted shows at all. So I've watched so much reality over the years. And although I hadn't been on a reality show, I could get a sense that things were edited a certain way a lot of the time. So when I was on Big Brother, I was very conscious of, the slightest rewording of something could mean they take a different storyline. So although I haven't watched my season, I know from the feedback from other people and being tagged in clips what my storyline was, and it seemed like it was accurate. So I think, yes, having been on the show, I'd be even more wary of it. But I think just being a reality TV lover, I already am aware of what can be done with editing.
Do you plan on going and watching your season?
I don't know. I would like to watch maybe from, the blind side of Izzy onwards.
Yeah.
Because before that, obviously, people were being super nasty to me, and then the powers changed in the house. So it would be good to watch when it was more positive, I think. But yeah, I really don't want to watch those first 4 episodes or the first 4 weeks. Yeah.
I always wonder if the Below Deck people go back and watch the show as well, because I would be curious to know what other people are saying to me. I think for Big Brother, obviously you get tagged when you come out the house, you're inundated with the clips and everyone's tagging you and telling you stuff and you're seeing stuff online.
You can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it, right? But for Below Deck, I think a lot of them could, if they wanted to, avoid seeing exactly what's happening. So I'm always wondering if they go back and ever see, what exactly is going on. Because if I was Bree, I would definitely be rewinding the tape trying to figure out who's messing up this laundry. Is it me? Am I the drama?
Yeah. I mean, well, also I saw, because I am a Dance Moms lover.
Oh yeah, we can talk Dance Moms if you want.
Oh my god, I freaking loved, like, I've there's a Dance Moms channel now, so
Oh no,
I've
I
just
didn't know that.
I've just watched rerun after rerun. It's good to have on in the background. But I heard Melissa, the mum of Maddie and Mackenzie, it
Mhm.
sounds like she's never watched the show. That's
Really?
it. When she was being interviewed, she said, "Well, I haven't watched it, but she
Ever?
also knows from being tagged and stuff."
Yeah.
That was my sense of it. So it's interesting. Like, I don't think a lot of people from our season have watched the season yet. I know Corey watched about halfway through. America. Oh no, Corey might have watched the whole thing. America didn't stop watching after about halfway because she didn't want to torment herself. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm the same. So
And see, Big Brother is one of those games where everybody's plotting against each other and
yeah,
lying
it's
to each
nasty.
other. Yeah, this I would be more curious to see how many of these written interactions are genuine, because we saw the apology from Bree to Ellie, and I really liked this scene. I did. I don't like that it was spliced next to 70 minutes later, where Bree is now in the toilet with Joe. But I did appreciate her going up to Ellie and apologizing, because she's now identified that Joe is causing this rift between them, and however
Yeah.
they're processing it, right? Like, they're obviously grown and they can make their own decisions. Joe isn't making them beef, but he is a catalyst to a lot of the drama that's going on. And so I wonder, when she goes back and watches this, I feel like that's something I would be proud of if I was able to go back and apologize and be the bigger person in something like this.
Yeah, and it seems like Captain Sandy's sounds like she watches it, because she in the afters was like, "Oh yeah, when I saw that on the show, da 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 da." So it sounds like she's definitely watched it. I really didn't get the sense Ellie's watched it, but we'll
No,
see.
yeah, I don't think Ellie's watching it. If I was Ellie, I probably wouldn't watch it either. I think that this would be.
Oh,
I think she's seen enough to where she probably gets to where the reception of her is coming from, and I don't think it aligns with what she's presenting us when she talks to us. She talks about how she wanted Bree to succeed, and Bree was butting into her relationship with Joe, or her interaction with Joe, and that is just not what we were being shown on the show. I think we saw Bree and Joe first, and then we saw
yeah.
Ellie and Joe, and then from there the waters got muddied.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess they're editing it after they've seen the whole storyline, so they can make
Yeah.
things look a certain way. But
What did you think about Aisha's her assessment of her stews, where she says they're good enough not to get fired, but not good enough for me to not have to do all the work as well?
yeah, it's like that would be a nightmare, actually, having those two who, like, at least Ellie kind of has the work ethic. Ellie comes across as having more of a work ethic, but just not the experience. And she's worked on boats for 8 years. But then I saw in the interview she was referring to when she was massaging on a boat. So maybe she hasn't worked in service the whole time, as in
Mhm.
she was, like the stuff in the kitchen and the bartending. And yeah, like them referring to her experience with talking to guests while bartending. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I mean, I've bartended a lot in my time, and I can talk to customers and shake and do all the stuff. There's a way to do it and keep it moving. But yeah, if you don't have that skill set, maybe not. So yeah, I wouldn't want that would be a nightmare to work with, but I guess it's always going to be like that for Asia, because they need a good storyline. So
Yeah, well, they're gonna bring in a new stew, and so maybe she's the one who will help pick up the slack. I'm hoping that she's very good and not just kind of another person for Aisha to babysit, because right now she's doing a lot of that. And then you mentioned that you like Jonathan. Jono has come a long way. In the first
yeah.
episodes, we saw that Captain Sandy was literally calling and telling them to have a chef on standby. Like, okay, in the next
Yeah.
couple days, I'm gonna need you to send one. Are you shocked that he's made it this far?
I am actually. I thought for sure he's
Yeah,
going.
same.
So yeah, I didn't think it was a question. I was like, oh, and there was you didn't get a sense of him being funny or a good worker or anything. And it's totally changed now. He's
Yeah.
like, making the sushi, and he said that he feels like he's improving. I guess at this point in the season, how they're in their 5th week on the water. Is that right? I don't know how
Yeah.
long each day of filming is. Are they doing like 4
Well,
days all
well,
in a row?
some of
4 days, 4 days, 4 days,
yeah, Some of the charters are shorter for sure. I think the last charter we got was really short, and then they have some days in between the charters depending on what it was. I think it looked like in this episode there was a lot of time that they spent like really cleaning and prepping for the next charter. So I don't know how much time is passing, but from charter to charter, he's definitely improved. We saw early on it didn't look like he was going to make it through the first couple weeks, and now he's so organized. He had his list, and he was talking about, okay, I brought you the sushi, but you don't like uncooked seafood, so I got you a special plate. He was really directing traffic. But Bowie Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, in the preview for the rest of the season, didn't we see them having a food issue where I think somebody had a dietary restriction on their plate, like I can't eat this or I'm allergic to this? It seemed like Captain Sandy was going to come down on him about something. I just don't see it happening with him being so good for these last like 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. The only issue, which was hilarious, which is the episode before, was the caviar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
dishwashing soap.
And I'm sorry, I did not shit the eggs, he said.
Yeah.
So I can't help the way they taste. Like, hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes, they should keep him. He's good.
They got it. They should, because I feel like if they try to fire one of these stews, going back down to 3 stews and then being short a chef, that would be very tough. What did you think about our charters that we got in this episode? Because to me, I watched them getting out of the cars, and I remember thinking, okay, well, obviously they know there's a storm, but they had such a good energy when they first got out. They were very cheerful and stuff. I'm thinking, okay, that's what I would be doing too if I knew I had booked a charter on a boat and I probably couldn't go too far into the water. But Captain Sandy sits them down and tells them that they can't go out right now, and they look like distraught. Like, it was so bad to where Aisha said it looked like Captain Sandy told them that Santa Claus wasn't real.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, guys, it's a freaking hurricane. Like, what do you want? And she made a good point. She said, well, I can take you out, but you'll be so scared and you might not be safe as well. Like, it's a good point. You think you want to go out? Okay, cool. You'll be frightened and we'll have to come back in.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I feel like we didn't see a lot of that charter, did we? Oh, well, we're in the middle of it still. It's to be continued, but with the water coming, the storyline was more the water and gale and
they brought them on, sat them down, told them, we're gonna have to find stuff for you to do here. And I think eventually they started to come around. It felt like, okay, they booked this winery trip for us, we can make the best out of this. But on their way to the winery, the water from the Medicaid is just taking over. I mean, the streets are flooded, and they start saying they want to go back to the boat. Personally, during a hurricane, I don't want to be anywhere near a boat. But I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, Bowie Jane.
I don't know. I thought I would probably want to go back too. I was surprised they were driving. I was like, those roads look terrible. And like, if there's rocks and stuff, I thought, it would be better to maybe be with all the staff rather than just with Aisha and I think it was Joe.
Yeah. Aisha does pick Joe, or I guess Joe got chosen by Ian to go out with Aisha on their way to the winery. And Aisha goes and tells Gail, like, ooh, I'm going to a winery with your boyfriend. We're going to cuddle. Yeah. And I think Gail's response was, are you going to bring me some wine?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it's surprising. I mean, you wouldn't want to drink with the guests there because you wouldn't want a hangover, but it is surprising that there's no alcohol for the staff. I thought that was interesting when I first started watching Below Deck, but it makes sense. That's why they go and smash it on that last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the moment the charters leave, they go and get really, really drunk. This charter, the one right before this charter, I guess, when they went out and Bree does her apology and Joe ends up in the toilet with Bree. That they were really drunk. They were really drunk, and you could tell when they get back. Yeah. Oh yeah. All of them. They go really, really hard with the alcohol when they go out. And I guess it makes sense because you watch other people party all day and you make sure they have a good time, that eventually you want to go out and do the same.
Yeah. And then like in the Big Brother house, we get alcohol after halfway through the season. We get a tiny, tiny bit of alcohol once a week. And that was the big moment because you're starved of it. So it's like, woo. And I imagine it's like that on the boat too. You're like, as you said, serving everyone else, watching them all have a good time. And now we can let our hair down. The guests aren't here. Let's party it up. It's kind of cool. But, geez, they have to get up and work the next day. I don't know about the hangover situation.
They're better than me. They're better than me. They're like
Um,
creeping into the house at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, the boat at 2 o'clock in the morning, super drunk, and then up at 6 a.m. getting ready for breakfast. I was like, well, y'all are crazy. I would be such a party pooper in the bed so early because
me
if I,
too.
yeah, if we were all on vacation, that's one thing. But to have to actually go to work the next day, absolutely not.
Oh, vacation, I would be partying. But like if I have to work the next day, there'll be no shots, absolutely no shots. And I'm going to be in bed by midnight, I'll say.
Yeah, still a little partying. There's a pinch. I'm not
Oh,
gonna call it
actually,
night too early.
I worked on Royal Caribbean
Hmm.
before COVID. I was DJing on Royal Caribbean, and I was so worried I'd get seasick because I do get motion sick. So I had the patches on and all that kind of stuff, but I did not touch a drop of alcohol. And the staff are drinking whenever they want, provided they're not working. But they're drinking and not getting. They're used to hangovers, I guess. So. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did not want to do it on the ship just because also you're going to get seasick. Ugh.
Where else have you DJ'd?
Gosh, everywhere. Like all over the world, festivals, bars, clubs, but probably the most unique one was probably on the Royal Caribbean because the crane, we went into dry dock for a week. The crane picked up the back of the ship. This is the third biggest cruise ship in the world, right?
Hmm.
5,000 people on it, 2,000 staff, I think. The crane this is in Cayman Islands. The crane is attached to the pier. It picks the whole boat up to get under it to fix whatever was wrong. And we're all off the boat. Some are on the boat, some are off the boat. And the crane is so heavy with the boat that the whole pier crashes. The crane falls across the back of the ship and miraculously didn't kill anyone. But the whole cruise was off after that and all the staff had to be taken off the island, and it was a whole big thing. Like that was my first cruise ship, and it was like a mayday situation. Water's flying into the boat, and I mean, yeah. So not that has anything to do with anything, but that is my cruise ship story.
I say, and that was your first cruise ship. And was that the end of your cruise ship story? Or you just were like, oh, I guess I'll go back.
Well, it was halfway through, and we're like everyone's contracts were cancelled. The ship was not workable then, so it was a big deal. It was in the papers and everything. But I was like, "Oh my god, how is this the first cruise ship I'm on?" And like we had a mayday situation, water flying in underneath at the bottom of the ship and stuff. So,
if you had the opportunity, would you ever DJ on one of these below deck boats?
I thought about that. I was like, damn, I get seasick, but I wonder if if I had tablets and stuff.
Yeah.
It feels like they're not in rocky ocean very often.
No, we rarely see even the guests complaining about, the waters or any type of discomfort. I don't think this season we've had any complaints about the actual boating experience. So I think you could do it.
Yeah, and like on Royal Caribbean, when I was DJing before it sunk, when I was DJing it was a really choppy day. I'm DJing like this, and the whole audience is running this way and then running this way. Like it was hilarious. So I'm used to. I have done it when it was rocky and I had the patch. It was fun. So I can do it. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go on below deck and DJ. I'm fine.
Look, the chat is saying so many cool things about you right now. Bobby Hall said, I don't know what's going on, but Bowie Jane is right. I think he just came here to catch you on the podcast. He doesn't actually watch the show.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that. And you're right. I'm always right. It's crazy.
And then we also have Amy saying, how fun is it to have Bowie Jane? Can't stay for the live, but I have to watch the episode first. But so fun to have you here. Definitely bounce back in to watch the whole show. So Bowie Jane, thank you so much for showing up for our chat. Yes.
Yeah, that was fun. I was like, I hope I've got enough to say about the show, but turns out I did.
Yes, I have a few questions for you before you go.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay. In most below deck seasons, we see at least somebody get fired. If you had to pick one person from this season to get fired, who are you going to bet on?
Bree.
Ooh, Bree.
Yeah.
A part of me is still concerned about Jono. He's been doing so good, but I can't shake off that vision of Captain Sandy actually calling for the other chef. I just imagine another chef is sitting in a hotel somewhere waiting on their shot. So that's why I'm concerned.
Yeah, I feel like they would have made it more of a continuing issue if that was going to happen. If it's going to happen, they're going to have to bring that storyline back in.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Okay, next question. Um, the new stew that's coming in. Do you think she's going to be friendly with the older stews, or is she going to just be isolated by them instantly because of her interaction with Joe?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if she's a good worker. I think that's really going to play a lot with it because the Joe thing will definitely be an issue, but also if she's making mistakes, the girls are going to jump on that and say, yeah, she's doing this wrong. If she's a good worker, they're going to be jealous. So either way, it's like, unless she's a great people person, which the fact that she's going to be with Joe is not very mindful of the surroundings. So
Not very
like
demure, no.
you should know that perhaps like they're both seeing him. Like she
Hmm.
will hear at some point. I know it's gonna be
Yes,
good.
it is going to be good. Okay, next. When do you think Captain Sandy is going to propose? You think it's going to be a finale?
I hope it's before the finale, but
Me
maybe it will
too.
be a finale thing. Um, I was hoping it'd be like next episode.
I mean, I'm hoping so too. I mean, I think the buildup is starting to like catch up with me because, like I said, it's been a couple episodes since she first mentioned it. Then he got
And then
quiet
they
about
mentioned
it,
it this week,
and
didn't
then they
they?
brought it up again. Yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
know if they're breadcrumbing us to a big finale where she proposes, or if it's going to happen sometimes in the next couple weeks.
Oh, well, so next episode is part 2 of the to be continued. So we've
Mm-hmm.
still got the Medicaine next week. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll say it's the week after we start
Yeah.
going into proposal story. It's going to be
Okay.
great.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I can't wait. I know Leah's gonna be so happy. It's gonna be. I like when they do the romance on the show when it comes to like the charters when they renew their vows and stuff like that. Even this
Yeah, that
charter,
was cute.
yeah. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing Captain Sandy having a moment, and I'm looking forward to see how this season ends for a lot of the drama that we've had. But Bowie Jane, thank you so much for joining us here on the Below Deck wrap up. It's been so much fun talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the show, so it was very exciting to come on here. Love Rob has a podcast. So, yeah, thanks again for having me.
Oh no, this has been perfect. And thank you all for listening. Of course, if you want to keep up with Bowie Jane, where can everyone follow you and keep up with you on social media?
DJ Bowie Jane on TikTok and DJ Bowie Jane on Instagram. I'm doing heaps of Big Brother spoiler videos. I'm up to like 90 videos on
Yeah.
TikTok. I'm not doing that on my Insta. Insta's more music. So TikTok, I really should be doing them on this show too, but I'm very busy.
Yes. You recently did the recap episode for Big Brother with us, right?
Yeah, I did that, I think, last week. So,
Mm-hmm.
Rob has a podcast. We talked about the lives, and because, guys, I did not know I was going to be a feeder, and it turns out I am. I was a feeder in Australia, but I haven't been in America. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying watching it and knowing what goes on behind the scenes. So it's just, yeah. And seeing people make the same mistakes every season is interesting.
And I've also been informed that you have merch as well that you're selling.
Yes, actually, this is some of it. But also,
Yes.
I've just put up FBJ merch because obviously there was for those who know, they know. So we've got
Yeah.
FBJ merch, we've got G'day Julie merch, and this is more like my DJ Bowie Jane stuff. So yeah.
Yes. Listen, we
It's all on
love
my TikTok
FBJ
page.
here. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, check out her TikTok. Would definitely check out the merch. If you see a FBJ shirt in my size, send it to me, okay? Because I will definitely wear it. Bowie Jane, thank you so much again. Thank you all for listening, and then make sure you catch up with us next week as we talk about episode 13 of Below Deck Med, and then keep up with all the rest of our coverage on the RHAPup feed here on Rob Has a Podcast, and check out all the things we have going on our other podcasts as well. Until next time, you can always follow me on Twitter at Chappelle's_show and follow my podcast at Recap Kickback as well. Thank you all for checking us out. Until next time, peace.